Yeah, so thank you so much. I'm excited to be kicking things off. So my name is Hamza. I'm the co-founder and CTO of ZenML. How many of you have heard of us, of ZenML? Show of hands. Ah, cool. A big, yeah. We have been sponsoring for a while, so I'm very happy to see this crowd again. Of course, I have to talk about agents this year. So this year was also the year that we decided at ZenML to focus a lot more on agentic problems. In a lot of ways, for the last 3 years, we've been looking at the MLOps principles that we've applied in applying machine learning at scale at enterprise and seeing how those principles could apply to agents as well. And I think we should start with the problem space. When I started in MLOps back in 2015, 17, there was a report floating around that probably was fake, but I think everybody sort of accepts it, that 85% of machine learning projects fail. I'm not sure if this is the exact number that's actually was what you experienced when you went through ML projects in enterprise, but I think it's around about the right number. And what we're seeing right now with the MIT report, that was also what we saw at the keynote today, that 95% of generative AI projects fail, I think speaks to the fact that it's just hard to get AI in production, and we're probably facing similar problems in the same direction. And that's what we try to delve into. And I think it comes back to this thing that I sometimes refer to as the inner loop, outer loop problem. When we looked at machine learning and MLOps in general, we saw that the problem really began when you deployed the model first. So like when I talk to people who are starting and get to know about MLOps, they think it's just about deploying a model. But as MLOps practitioners, I think we know that after the model is deployed, that's really where the trouble begins. And in a lot of ways, the first few years of machine learning development is all about the inner loop, where we look at the notebook, we are training the model, we're iterating on the hyperparameters, and we're sort of iterating on this inner loop of development that usually happens on one developer's machine. And the first moment that the model is deployed is when the outer loop begins. So when you expose your model to production data, the loop comes back, you need to evaluate what happened, things change, the model gets destroyed for some reason or the other, et cetera, et cetera. In my opinion, the agent lifecycle is very similar. You have two loops. You have one loop, which we're seeing right now in the world, where you have the inner loop of prompt engineering. You write a while loop, which you can call an agentic loop if you want. You add some tools, and then you put it out there. That's your POC, that's your inner loop. You can do this in a notebook, but really when you deploy your agent at scale in your enterprise for your internal customers or for your external customers, that's when things start getting a little bit hairy. That's where you need to start looking at deployment, data collection, feedback, tracing, monitoring, all those things. And I think that if we can get this inner loop and outer loop problem right, we can take a lot of the things we learned from the outer loop of MLOps with models and apply them to agents. So just wrapping a run agent function in fast API tends to break. I've seen that in a lot of agentic deployments in production. You have schema drifts, you have node tracings, version chaos, over-permissive tools, concurrency spikes. If you have a product hunt launch, your agent goes through the loop. And that's not something that we haven't seen before. So all these things that you see, you have been familiar with when you have actually deployed model-based applications before. And that's why I think thinking about these things as just singular microservices deployed on a Kubernetes cluster or on ECS is probably the wrong way of thinking about agents, because we're missing the data parallel that we can learn from MLOps. So for me, agents sort of extend MLOps. They don't replace it. I mean, just like DevOps and MLOps and AgentOps, whatever you want to call it, for me, I think the central theme of MLOps was really pipelines, workflows, and I can see that even with the OpenAI builder that they launched yesterday, that seems to be what agents are looking like more and more in the enterprise. They are things that happen step by step in a graph. You go from one loop of foundational processing to another, and data passes through. And I think if you have a system like that, you can really reimagine and reuse your MLOps foundations that you've already built, because you built them for that. So all those things like data and I/O contracts, observability, environment management, rollbacks, security and isolation, versioning and lineage, they will apply to models, pipelines, and agents. And if you're building with agents right now, you shouldn't put this on the back burner. So don't get caught in that inner loop of development with just trying to get a POC out there. Of course, there's a business value in having, like proving value quicker. But if you really want to productionalize it and do the ops loop, then you got to focus on that aspect as well. So at ZenML, what we're doing is we are starting to take this into action. So we are doing something which I think is quite new in the space, which is we're modeling agents as pipelines. Now, this might sound like the same as any like workflow orchestration tool that you built before, but what we're doing really is we're unifying the pipeline syntax that we had before. So like ZenML itself was a workflow orchestration tool, or is a workflow orchestration tool. It helps you string together these steps, and they run in batch mode. But now, since last week, we've introduced a new functionality where you are able to deploy these, let's call them pipelines, as fast API services. You can use the same syntax as you could before, so the library stays the same. So the principles that you had before for artifacts versioning, data versioning, code versioning, all those things remain intact, and you get this whole new agentic features on top. Especially, we've introduced prompt traces in deployment. So prompts as artifacts, traces as observability tools, and deployments as another stack component. And we have integrated into these tools that you already probably know when you're building agents, so something like LangGraph or LangFuse or BrainTrust, or deploying on AWS, or if you have your prompt stored somewhere in GitHub. We connect all those things together into one seamless pipeline. And whenever you execute this pipeline, you have not just an endpoint, but you have everything wrapped in a secure agent ops or MLOps loop that is observable, testable, and you can iterate fast on. So in my opinion, we're at the MLOps world. Continuity wins. We have been doing ML for many years now, and I think we can leverage a lot of the data principles that we had from before. So if you need a platform that combines the classical machine learning world, which we still are very good at, and this is our bread and butter, but also is taking a step into the agentic direction with running your evals, running agents, getting all your traces together, and enabling that outer loop of evaluation and getting your agents better and production ready, then please hit us up. We're at the booth over there. I don't know how to point that out, but you'll probably find us. It's one of the booths out there in the exhibit hall. This was only a 10-minute talk, so I couldn't get into details. So I'm happy to jump into a demo if you're interested. If you want to book a demo with us, this is the QR code as well. So having said that, I think I'm on 10 minutes, 8 minutes even. So thank you very much.